Tristen Tyler Blake, welcome back.
We're back.
That's
In
right.
LA.
We are in LA now.
Yeah, closer to San Diego. I have a theory. You're coming closer and closer to the scientific oasis.
Yeah. The richness of Southern California's topological network of genius is so saturated, and we're only in the beginnings of exploring these diverse nodal clusters of brilliance. I'm just so pumped.
I'm fascinated to look into the history. You know, I study ancient Rome and Athens, and I see the birth of a new, an empire of kindness, or maybe a kingdom of kindness, right? And I'm always interested in the people that plant the seeds. Who is our Pericles? Who is our, the people that planted these seeds into the ground that are currently pulsing with inspiration,
Yeah.
and that is attracting people. And cities do have gravity.
Yes.
San Diego pulled me, and I hope it's pulling you as hard.
Yeah. It's a great way to visualize it. There is a massive gravitational pull, and it's usually catalyzed by those that are planting the seeds and watering them that enable the growth of these flowers that have these aromas that are attractors for the cross-pollination of these new nodes to arrive and give birth to these ideas. Huge. There's a profound synthesis also that's yet to happen between NorCal and SoCal at a deeper level, marrying the Silicon Valley with the entertainment dissemination of memes.
Mm-hmm.
And so if those two can sort of synthesize at a deeper level, California is the 6th largest economy in the world as a state by itself. And so we have a work to do here in the state, including the San Diego, where we can, and Central Valley, which is the agricultural heaven also
The
of
fruit basket.
the planet. Yeah, because it's a third of all of our vegetables in the U.S. come from there, and 2/3 of all of our fruit and nuts come from there. Let's rock it into, I love the theme of the episode, screenshots of imagination. Out of everybody that I know that is sort of obsessed with the idea of systematizing creativity, accelerating creativity, maximizing our ability to use these technological tools that are so democratized now to actually be able to take those screenshots of imagination and then turn them into these beautiful creative projects that we execute in the world. You're actually doing it, because a lot of high level genius talks about this process, but you're actually doing it. And we have a really good demo to show you. We have a couple cool things that we'll be showing you. Before we unpack that, let's head into the journey. Specifically, within the journey, what made you who you are today to be pursuing the star that you care about so much?
Yeah. Well, I believe every journey begins with an invitation. So I want to kind of invite you to do some push-ups with me.
I love it.
Let's get active. And
push-ups
and this is not only for us. This is if you're out
the
there.
audience at home.
Yeah,
do some push-ups. I love it. Boom. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Tristan's at like 25, everyone.
Actually,
That's a great feeling, though. Tristan's at like 40. No, he's literally at like 40. I'm not even joking. He might be at 70 now.
I usually hit 70. The wider one?
And now he's doing wide grip ones. I think he might be getting to 100 soon. It's pretty inspirational. I love it. I'm already jacked from 10. Wow.
Now the knee kicks?
Yeah, exactly. What's our next? Squats, abs. Yeah. Now you're probably really ready for the show. Yeah.
I love starting meetings like that.
Yeah. That's
the
good.
team gets
right
pumped.
At the beginning. Yeah, it's like I love that. I love that.
But what's also important is after you work out, to capture your breath, to So how fast can you restabilize your breathing? And I like to experiment with this and to try to catch my breath, because one thing that COVID has taught us is that breathing is a luxury. So when you recognize that, and when you wake up in the middle of the night, if you're a smoker, let's say, and your lungs are, full, and it's hard to breathe, you start to recognize the power of breathing, the actual privilege of breathing.
Yeah.
And that's why I quit smoking hookah.
Yeah.
About a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I used my technology infrastructure to support my new habit, or at least the loss of a previous habit.
Yeah. Yeah, 20,000 breaths a day. And the more awake you are, the more you realize that they come from the photosynthesis of phytoplankton in trees. That's where the O2 comes from. And the more that you connect to that, the more you realize the whole of everything, the oneness, that unity, God consciousness. And it's actually quite amazing, because then you basically leverage that as a channel to all of the creativity that you do in the world. So yeah, take us into the journey. Yeah.
So, and thank you for joining me for that invitation.
I love it.
This journey starts, and my history, we'll get into this in future episodes to truly parse the history. A lot of it is missing.
Yeah.
A lot of it's been lost over time, multiple lifetimes, right? 3 lifetimes now, rotating. You lose things along the way. In fact, I was telling a friend earlier today that I've lost more in this lifetime than most people have ever had. And when you realize that, and you kind of sense, I've lived for 100 years through books, movies, through my own experiences. When you live at an intensity that I experience, right, in a resolution which takes in a lot of data, you have to learn what to do with all this information. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
If your metabolism isn't trained, right, to take all of that high quality nutrition, that data.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a lot of bad data, and some of the things that we are learning today is that what we were taught in schools and even at home, it has been, to the best of our time, we've done the best with what we had, but now we have true clarity on certain scientific concepts, right? Computational sciences have revealed to us the nature of our reality in many respects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a blessing right now to be able to search this search engine of not only the internet, but our own unconscious, which is a search engine, right? It computes and processes, and you're the one that delivers the answer. You're the external device on a machine which is hidden from you. The complexity of your mind is masked from you. This dark geometry going on inside of your mind. You think right now, but you don't know what are the underlying components that compose these marvelous thoughts.
Yeah, so it sounds like within where you came from and where you are today, you sort of see it as a big amalgamation of complexity and data that you're beginning to scratch the surface of and dive deeper into the iceberg that's below the surface. And that's a profoundly important analogy for us to all really aim to truly become Gnostic individuals and beings in that sense. And yet today's computational infrastructures enable a decent amount of the beginnings of that process.
Yeah, the early adopters.
The early adopters. Like, yeah, so Tristen will definitely be unpacking how he's trying to rocket that, especially the visualization and the creativity and all these types of things. And so then would you say that that was sort of the formation of your North Star mission, was really around seeing the depth of the computational renaissance, enabling the visualization and the higher resolution of these datas?
So this is quite a recent development. I mean, I picked up on machine learning when I was still in New York. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. I saw that something was changing, and it would transform our society and our lives. And I wanted to know what it was out of curiosity. But before that, I actually studied the humanities, and I did a lot of traveling around Asia, around the Middle East, around Europe. And I studied kind of esoteric topics, religions, different spiritual, systems, more as an anthropologist and kind of amateur historian, right? A lot of ancient Greek mythology, which gave me a lot of context and also a lot of tools, a tool set that I could use to repair my traumas. And I have a lot of traumas from childhood that I had to repair. But I picked up on the fact that technology could be used to assist me in uncovering truth and recording or capturing beauty.
Yeah.
When I found it.
Yep.
I found a lot of ugliness in this life, and I found a lot of beauty. And I've learned to distinguish between the two, and to select for one of them. So all of these demons, they still haunt you. But if you know how to find love and compassion and beauty and these other elements, these other spirits, sometimes they walk right into the room with you, and you drop to your knees. It feels like your whole body goes cold, like you can't move. And these spirits pass through you, spirits of history, spirits of literature, spirits of death, right? If you've ever met death alone in your room, and I've met it 2 or 3 times, okay? You come away with a new appreciation for sunshine, and one more single breath is enough.
Yes.
To make it all worth it, all of the struggles.
Yes.
One more breath.
One more breath. Yep. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that you had that sort of synthesis background across different planetary spiritualities, philosophies, areas of knowledge, and you also saw the machine learning renaissance happening, and that fusion makes a lot of sense on your background. Yeah.
And I think instinctively, so I was pulled to San Diego. In my past, when I was a little bit younger, I was running away from something. This might be a theme potentially of my current. I mean, this week, right? I recognize that I no longer run from my fears. I run towards my fears.
Yes.
I've recognized over these past experiences that behind every fear, that's where your passions hide. Like they play hide and seek from you. Childhood fantasies and desires, they hide behind your fears. And the moment that you unlock that fear, that you mature through it, your trauma disappears in that area, and it uncovers a childhood passion that you once wanted to explore, but you were cut in that, whether through a relationship that was toxic or some kind of just trauma which stuck with you throughout your life. And I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid of anything.
Yes.
Which has allowed me to pursue my passions without resistance. And I think that's also another theme that I've been discovering in the silence of the last few months since COVID hit. I've been alone for quite some time, and in that alone time, I recognize that I have the opportunity to think and to clearly hear my own ideas, my body. I get to listen to my body. So I started dancing.
Yes.
I started listening to to music, to sound, and I actually brought a guitar the other day. So I intend to
Excellent.
start playing that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So fears, they once you figure out a way to approach it, if you have a methodology, you can overcome your fears, and I guarantee you will always find a treat at the end, something waiting for you that you've been waiting to find a very long time.
Yeah, the North Star is beautiful in that when we take these leaps of faith, especially running towards fears, that we're usually gifted with incredible treasures on the other side. And we must see that archetype, and we must see it across the millions of people that have lived, and that it's such a common perennial one that it hopefully can land in everyone's hearts today in modernity after seeing all of the trials and errors of people in the past. And hopefully that's how we can, one of the ways in a psychological and spiritual sense, achieve the gifts. At the same time, we need from that place, as we do pursue that, we usually end up, like I was saying a little bit ago, we end up being a channel for some of the highest morals, ethics, these types of things. And then everything we architect regarding this computational renaissance, everything we architect there's no moral or ethical issues that come with it. And I think this is a really interesting example with what you'll be showing us with Synapse, because what's happening is that right now people feel this exclusivity. They feel exclusion, in a sense. It's a exclusive stakeholding, because we all have all of the social companies that have an asymmetric relationship with the users, where there's a very extractive style relationship of my psyche, and that there's no real co-creation in the process, and it would be, as one of the examples that I use a lot, it would be so beautiful to be able to have data interoperability between all the companies, leverage machine learning to find the profound insights across all of the data, and then be able to visualize that on an individual basis for what profound ways that I can increase my longevity, increase my North Star success, increase my enlightenment. And this is really the ethos of Chapter 6, AI Coach and High-Level Perception. And that right there, also happening on a planetary level, it being scale invariant, where a country can see that data insight and the planet can see the data insight. The way you're architecting Synapse makes me feel like it's a co-creative relationship with the users. It's not an extractive one. It's not based on the monopolization of asymmetric data control, things like that. And so that's actually a key, I think, insight, is as we become more fearless and run towards those barriers, those adversities, those tests of faith, leaping into our North Stars, we usually find these massive gifts, which is we become better architects of the more beautiful world that we all want to live in.
Actually, that's one of my primary goals, is not only to provide people with this technology, but to actually teach them how to architect it themselves, the basic principles. I don't want them to be limited to my applications. So I have several apps that that automate aspects of your life. They create an external memory bank and a connection with the universe or with other technology. So one collects my to-do lists, and there's a fairly intricate program management suite behind that. One of them collects my social relationships, and that goes off of my social networking research. So at home, I believe people can invent their own labs and create essentially research applications to see how do people react to certain data, certain psychological experiments. Everything is an experiment. So you get to architect these social networks at home in your homemade laboratory. I believe the next generation of labs is going to be feet away from your kitchen, inches away from your living room. It's your computer. It's your VR headset, right?
Yes. I love the vision that you have. We're not just giving fish, we're teaching how to fish, and the creative unlocking that's going to happen by doing that process is massive. It would be like an analogy is basically like if any of these major tech giants had a co-creative relationship with the users where there was more of a inclusive feedback loop on the creative explorations of what the technology is actually possible of unleashing. And so I love that because by empowering the architect themselves, the conscious agent themselves to unleash their creativity, given the fact that you actually give them the tools and the curriculum that enables them to do that creative process, that's way more, in a sense, empowering than the asymmetric relationship we were talking about earlier.
One of the things that I'm fascinated to explore is, so you give this to a high performer, somebody that's really kind of very high performance as is, and how much will this boost their productivity by, their time management? How much time will it save in order for them to reuse it on creative or computational tasks rather than organizational or structural, architectural tasks? And you would people underestimate how much time they spend looking up information over and over again.
That's right.
So this high performer, it will increase their productivity, and then essentially the compound interest on the time they save over a lifetime could create a massive amount of creative potential. Yeah. But for people that are everyday users and not, let's say, super users or not hyper kind of productive people, it will just help them make shopping lists, little lists of, hey, I wanted to buy my mom a bouquet of flowers, and the delta between them thinking that and them doing that is they have to open an app, they have to type it in, they have to put it in the right place and tag it or catalog or register it, and then they have to execute it. And this kind of stages of, from idea to action, there's several steps involved. And I believe this entire process can be consolidated into a double click, and it opens up some kind of technology, and I will show this on the screen a little bit later. It captures the idea, and then you rapidly catalog it where it belongs. And the example I want to use for that is when you wake up and let's say your house is dirty, if you want to clean it, 60 to 70% of the pile up of the socks or whatever, if you had the ability to click it and send it to the right bucket right away, let's say the laundry basket, 60% of your problem is probably one or two items, and then 3 or 4 other ones are very selective, highly detailed, kind of specific thought where you actually have to do some creative or contemplation. And if my goal is to let people focus entirely on the computational side and use our cognitive search engines to solve those kinds of problems, and let the organizational or structural parts be a methodology rather than something people have to reinvent every single time they want to clean the room, which is the current state of affairs.
I like how you provide this visualization for people of the procedural steps of this process, where you call it a delta from the thought of wanting to embark on some sort of a process, and that there being these multiple steps along the way that actually get you to the output of what you want to successfully do, and the consolidation of that into the thought, action, boom, that kind of thing is very much so the biotech, neurotech future that we're talking about with things like Neuralink, which we'll unpack a little bit more in a bit. But the most, I think, a very friendly example for people also is, especially for those that have websites, this is a very common one, is that we spend, I would say it might be somewhere around 2 days per year on website management, as in needing to deal with the domain, needing to deal with the host, needing to deal with the whoever you're using for the design space, all these pieces. And if maybe the card information didn't get processed one time and the site goes down, and then you have to spend a half day on the telephone with the organization to get everything active again, all these types of things. So the point being that that's one activity, and that's 2 days per year potentially of time. That's only one activity. Yeah. And so there's potentially dozens of these structural activities that occur that are not actually creative, and they're more of the foundational that you've already done 5 times in the last 5 years. You've already spent 2 days a year the last 5 years doing this.
No.
Stop. We need to stop. We need to make the architectures that enable us to stop doing those so we can spend the time on the creative. So it might actually be something like a month, a year, or something on all of these. Imagine what it would be like to have a month.
When I'm standing in traffic, I think not about kind of the time, not about, there's traffic, but I go, all of these people have their time being wasted.
That's right.
And it's being stolen from them by disorganization, by essentially, bureaucratic kind of inefficiencies.
Yeah.
And I would love to give this time back to people so that they could spend it on themselves or on others. And one of the interesting concepts that I wanted to kind of develop is so this project, right, from concept to creation, essentially, that delta. Sometimes this project is just a bucket. It could, we'll talk about Quark Park a little bit later today, and that's a bucket that I'm collecting ambiently throughout the day. I'm collecting insights, concepts, brand ideas, whatever it is, and I'm throwing it in there throughout the day. I actually currently don't have time. If I recorded the idea and I had to parse it for its quality and truly tag it, that would be too expensive computationally on a minute-to-minute basis. But I just have the ability to throw concepts into the appropriate buckets. So think of it as a digital backpack with near infinite scalability. And you throw ideas in there and you just tag them enough to know where to find them later.
Yeah.
So you can collect, how many ideas can you host at the same time? What's your hosting capability for projects, let's say?
Yep.
You often find people that are at maximum capacity with the projects that they're currently working on, and you realize that that's a time and computation problem. That's an information system kind of block.
I see. Yeah, so this is interesting. So the whole idea of being maxed out on projects, there's room to actually have more, but and we're just not accessing it because of all the fundamental things that are repetitive that we're doing. Yeah. That's an interesting perspective. And then the other one that sort of came up that I thought could be really interesting for what you were saying was that it's another super relatable one. You bring up when we're talking about this with Zeb Kroll on the show, who's one of the LA's up-and-coming music producers, and he's so obsessed about creating the absolute best ambisonics, screens, chairs inside of autonomous vehicles, because he wants people to have the peak level experiences of creativity, focus, meditation, bliss, joy, peace, all those emotions when they're going to be in 10 years sitting inside of the vehicles that will enable us to be in different states of mind than stressful driving. And so he's thinking like we're unlocking literally potentially trillions of hours on a planetary level of time to do non-stressful driving, but to do creative. So this is the scale of that we're talking about. Also, one last thing that I really like.
Creative tax that we're paying right now for incompetence.
Tax.
That's what it feels like.
Creative tax for incompetence. I like that a lot too. That's a good one. I like that one. That's a good one. And in a sense, it's also creative task for incompetence.
So let's use this in the wild. Creative tasks for incompetence. Repeat it again. And actually, this is, repeat it. And I'm going to show you what that.
Creative tax for incompetence.
So you see, even in a fraction of a second, if I was alone, I might have lost that
Yeah.
insight. And I believe, and trust me, when you're walking down the street and you have that brilliant insight, it could be next to, you're just walking down the street and you get that idea. Go ahead. See, you think you're going to remember it? That business idea that will is inevitably going to emerge. That thing that you wanted to do, you forgot about it. Well, with a system like this, now you can capture those things, and I'll work on this later after this interview, but it's here and it's not going anywhere. Like a bunny just popped out. We had a cat on the car. Like a bunny pops out. Think about this. Every time you want to pull out your phone and take a picture of that beautiful bunny, that beauty that just emerged from divine nature, by the time you whip out your phone and go to your camera app, the bunny is gone.
Yeah.
The same thing with inspiration. Same thing. And that's why it's screenshots.
That's why it's
of imagination and inspiration.
That's right. Yeah. 100% amen to that, because a lot of us that are hyper creative are swimming in the ocean of ideas, and we're trying to anchor these ideas inside of our execution strategies, but that they're swimming away so quickly. So I also like the idea of the just tax on incompetence in general, because that can also be thought of like where in the autonomous vehicle example, or if you look at the Golden Gate Bridge or the Bay Bridge in the Bay Area as well, we basically have, or the LA freeway systems in New York, all these different cities across the planet as well. The idea is that about 100 years ago or so, we were realizing that vehicles were going to be transporting humans, but that we saw that there were approximately one out of every however many people, that was it was a much larger amount of people that did not have access to vehicles back then. And so the roads were built for that foresight for just a couple of, maybe a decade or two down the line. Okay, maybe some more people will get cars. But now, where such a large portion of the population owns motor vehicles for transit, our actual roads, as Elon talks about, he talks about it being a two-dimensional grid, but we build up in buildings in 3 dimensions, and so then that's our big problem, and so that's why boring's trying to go down, because then you have a 3-dimensional structure underground as well for that. And so that style of foresight, though, in terms of not paying a tax. I don't want to pay the tax on our creativity, which is that we're sitting in cars stressed because we didn't have the foresight to think, guys, maybe we should be monitoring the amount of data of cars being purchased across the planet and upgrade our road infrastructures. That style of thinking. And the same style of thinking can be thought about with things like, why is Brazil and Congo right now being short-term incentivized to destroy the rainforest and the biodiversity in order for short-term economic growth?
Yeah.
We can actually create a better long-term economic growth mechanism for them to preserve the biodiversity, to preserve the rainforest in the area, and to gain greater economic flourishing in other paths. But we need to have that indigenous 7th-generation principle that will actually enable that.
Yeah, and this entire concept, like transportation, energy infrastructure, this goes into a taxonomy I call synthetic infrastructure. It's a biologically driven infrastructure in the city, which breathes. Right? The wires breathe. The city breathes with you. It's a biological life form, and
that's why the blockages in the arteries are what traffic is.
Exactly. Ancient Egypt. I mean, the legacy of their civilization. They left us the pyramids, and Athens left us, the Parthenon, and kind of what will we leave behind? What is the ode to civilization? And I think that we should have a little bit more ambition today. I'm kind of unsatisfied by the ambition of our current.
Likewise, it's almost like we got settled with the social media, and now we're just complacent.
Yeah. And by the way, social media, I that's like 1st or 2nd generation. These 3rd generation social networks are going to be built by anthropologists. They're going to be able to tweak very specifically the culture. Culture is a tool set for identifying beauty in the world.
Yeah.
Every tea ceremony you watch focuses on a different aspect of beauty. And a culture is a toolbox, just like technology. I hang out with a lot of these musician and kind of like spiritual types. I have a lot of fun dancing with them freely, right? And and oftentimes this population comes with a fear of technology, almost a resistance to it. This kind of fighting position that they have with it, like, oh, it's trying to take over my life and control me. And I try to help them understand that it's just another tool. Every tool can be used, every instrument can be used as a tool or a weapon. Every single one. And I believe virtue helps us identify what are tools and to hide the weapons, because, between you and me, I mean, to start with the genesis of a lot of this, I've destroyed the world in my mind many times. Full destruction and rebuilding, different tools, different instruments, future ones, past ones. And you get in the end to the conclusion that it's just people. They're doing the best with what they have, and if you free them from the slavery of their kind of human condition, and their, if you look at people, they're trying to do the right thing, and sometimes they do it for the wrong way, but people are cute in that sense. They try to do the nice thing. They're trying to help their mother. They're trying to do these things. They love their families. It's a very beautiful thing when you truly look at humans, and you start to when COVID hit, I kind of saw what was going to happen next. The simulation, right? Imagine falling to your knees and feeling the next 3.5 million people die in front. Like, you can feel that, right? You can feel the Holocaust absorb it through your bones. Your bones hurt. This is a different type of kind of, not empathy, but there's a word for a collective pain, a collective consciousness, a collective emotion. So if you study history, in order to truly appreciate it, to appreciate the downfall of Rome or the death of Carthage, right? The destruction of Carthage by Scipio Africanus, you have to feel the pain of a death of an entire civilization, and the loss of all of their miraculous culture, which has beauty and literature and poetry. That's all lost. And we will lose it again. This is a constant of history, of civilization, if you study it well enough. And we will, all of these questions that we can now ask freely on the internet. You have a godlike power to ask and answer any question in real time right now. Hey, Google, what is the nature of the universe? That's doing something. And when we open that, it will give a pretty profound answer about neuroscience or the cosmos. We know about the Big Bang. We've come this far, and we're going to lose. It's all going to be wiped away, and it usually happens during epic cycles or epic periods. It's a period of about 50 to 100 years where there's such a rapid evolution in human cognition and consciousness that the forces of our species, kind of the train of gas and brakes, literally rips it apart.
It feels like that's about to happen right now, with fiat currency dying and the decentralized social fabric emerging of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Ethereum. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you want to be programmable smart contracts and applications. This is that's absolutely right. And then what
do you think is going to happen? Meaning, where do you think it's going to go? Do you think these ancient systems how much does a wire take? 3 days in a bank? Are you kidding me? What?
Yeah. That's a lot of friction that we're describing from here to here. Is so much friction that's going to be collapsed. Yeah. And then I really liked your digital backpack that you brought up. I think that's another really good way to visualize it, is that the profundity of capturing a thought. Like, right now, what happens to me is that when something profound happens between the guest and I, the best that I can do is sort of right now be able to create a tiny little note to myself just right here about it, and then aim to do my best to integrate that note into my digital backpack. And that's probably the best that I can do right now. And then the sort of next step is to see if the ability to parse for these key insights like we had with the tax. And I think we should probably jump into the demo.
Yeah, why don't we show them instead of teasing them?
And then I just want to say, with the digital backpack, we'll go right into Synapse. With this digital backpack, the most exciting thing for me is that I already have these like 4,000 plus Evernote files. I already have these 700 plus interviews, all of this different kind of stuff. And so what I want to do is I want to be able to have my artificial intelligence coach. I want the algorithms to basically be on the continuous process of parsing for these key insights, like the creative tax on lack of foresight, right? Stuff like that. And then to throw that in the backpack, organize it in a way that helps me be able to not only retrieve it later, but to combine it with other ideas, do synthesis and stuff like that. So yeah, let's jump into this demo. This is the Synapse demo. Do you want to give them a little background on Synapse?
Yeah, sure. So, actually these ideas that you capture, these bunnies of beauty in real time, when you capture them, you need to, they're useful just as a note, and that problem has been solved, but to add a little bit of context. And that's what Synapse does. It adds layers of context to these strips of thought. So let's just say we have a thought right now, some kind of idea comes out. In it is contextual data, like, for example, the time that it was captured. That's relevant. If I had biometric data,
that's right.
It would be your heartbeat or your neuro signature, which you would be able to then train. I mean, how else are you going to train these headsets? How else? Yeah. So it's pretty obvious. I mean, these things, and they become obvious once you follow the thread so far that the next thread begins.
Yes. I love that.
So here, I have it ready if you want.
All right. So we have as you guys can see, we have Synapse, which Tristen built. He's got it up right now. That's his landing page in the background, or his website in the background. And the link's in the bio below, innovation-labs.co. And they find the link in the bio below, and he's got all of this awesome content there for the Coda network. And so let's on the right side of the screen right now, you're observing his phone background. Which are we getting a signal? I just want to ensure that we're
let me test it. So
we'll test it quick.
Let's follow the thread.
Okay, let's get a quick. Looks like we might need a quick. I'll get this a quick restart. You give yours a quick restart, and then we'll so that they can actually get the. Yeah, all right, so we're about to connect. Yeah, we're about to connect for you guys. Give us a moment. We're using a mirroring software for Tristen's phone to be wireless with our NDI scan converter that's then bringing it into the stream. So we're connecting right now.
Boom. Access, start. Okay.
All right, so we are.
Let's see. I already changed it. Okay, there you should see.
All right, so. Now we're on. Okay, now we're on Tristan's screen on there on the right.
This is a test note of inspiration. Okay, perfect. So let's say you've captured a thought.
And so in this exact, it looks like what we had is we had it begin to Tristen. Basically, he double clicked the. Lock button, is that what it is?
Yeah, the Bixby button.
The Bixby button on the Samsung. So he double clicks the Bixby button. It begins to listen to what he's saying, and then he's saving that into his note. We'll do this one more time because I want to actually get the
experience.
Yeah, get the exact experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of softwares running here. That's kind of the
just close.
Let me close it.
There you go.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
We're actually running software on Tristan's phone, and we're running software on my computer, and we're running another. There's like 4 layers of software actually that are happening, so it's a big stack.
And that is the that's actually the
that's an impeding of creativity.
That's impeding of, but it's also the opportunity right now.
It's opportunity, yeah.
It's also the opportunity for people to truly be able to build early versions of this technology, and to be able to capitalize on. Innovation. Okay, perfect. It should be capturing it now. So now that we've captured that, let's see if it gets it. Did it freeze it? Did it get it?
Come on, get the last word. Get the last word.
All right, there we go. Yeah, there we go. So in addition to capturing the initial thought, and again, so we're talking about you.
Do you want to save? Oh, do you want?
Yeah,
to show that? Okay, okay.
So the idea is you're kind of walking, and all of a sudden you have a moment, and you just open your phone. It starts recording. Boom, you capture your thing. Now you want to label it, and I've created these labels. I'm going to scroll them. We'll see when it adapts.
So you added just a hashtag, and then that's where you're able to label it.
Yeah.
Okay, and now you're scrolling through all of your different labels.
Yeah, so these are labels that I've created in the past. So watch, listen, play. Let's say you gave me a recommendation for some anime or some movie to watch. It would immediately go into this. So what do we have here? Early version. So we're just going to call this digital infrastructure. That's a course I'm creating right now on how to... How to do this. Anyway, click send, boom, gone. Now we continue our conversation. And so you see how rapid that was to capture insights, store it. Yeah. And later on, again, tonight or maybe next week, and I'll actually show you where this all goes.
One sec. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, so let me show you this. So, so this is opening a software called Coda, which is going to profoundly change the world. This is kind of like the birth of a Google or just some radical technology. So I encourage everyone to look into that. I built this suite on top, like the building blocks I used on top of their system to host it. So, and you could build here, let's see if that loads.
One sec, yeah.
I'm going to reload it?
Yep, we're reloading right now.
Yeah, let's try it. Yeah.
So, did you showed us Synapse there. Is Coda different then?
So Coda is kind of, think of it as like a WordPress for organizational apps, essentially. Right? I call it a Photoshop for organization. And it's a radical new technology. It just got released. It's pretty new. I would say Notion would be a competitor of theirs, but let's be honest. For the people that build real data infrastructure, there's no substitute. Sorry. So
okay. So now this is Coda.
Yeah. So this is Coda. Okay. So we just opened up my homepage. I've designed this, and again, when you open it on your you open up Coda on your own, it can be just a blank page. So I've engineered an algorithm for capturing different things. So you see here the first thing is a reverie cleaner, and that's where I clean reveries or thoughts that I've captured throughout the day. Data diary that actually captures every thought I've made per day and per week. So here I did a big data transfer, so that's why that's that many. Here's my workouts, and anyway, so there's a lot of data there. Let's go back here. Mythologies. This is a very interesting category. It actually captures the my in your mythologies.
Oh, interesting. That's the play there. I like that. The my in the mythology. That's
so I have an aggression problem. Like I guess where I grew up or whatever, I had to survive. And anyway, I want to lower my intensity, but maintain my my presence and drive.
Okay.
So you need to regulate these things. You need to control them and kind of don't let your just emotions affect your environment because of the people you love. So you need to develop ways to regulate your compassion, your conflict, your contradictions. Your creativity. Is it scrolling there? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Your energy, your family, your fears, and this captures everything. Things that I'm grateful for, and I don't know. Maybe let's just jump into that. I guess things that I'm grateful for. These are just things that I've.
Did it jump in?
It should have jumped in. Yeah.
Looks like.
Yeah, I think it's gonna load. Give it a couple of seconds.
So? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if it does load in.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And so in these are different. Under each one is now. Do your hashtags go into Coda as well, or you gotta describe your digital backpack?
Sure.
To you, it all makes sense, but to us,
So actually, it's a combination of tools, right? You have to jerry rig and hack these things together. So the app that you saw initially, that's actually Todoist popping up their quick action pop up, and there I then simulate a click on my screen on Google Gboard, which is my keyboard. It simulates the click for the recorder button. And so it starts recording, and it was 350 milliseconds after the app opens.
Okay.
So then it captures that. Then when I put the categorization or the hashtag of the item that I've selected, that through Zapier wires it to Coda.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's the collection, like the buckets, the
Okay.
categories that collects those inside of Coda. Zapier is my tool of choice for wiring rapid ideas, and
Got it.
the keyboard is kind of the mechanism by which to reduce the time between double click and actually having my thought registered inside of the database with a functional category or a master tag, let's say.
Master tag. So it goes idea to double click to the microphone for the keyboard function, enter in my voice, translate to text, then after that is tag it, and then this part is Synapse. Is the whole thing Synapse?
That loads it into the Synapse database, and the Synapse is a neurotechnology. It's a tool to explore your unconscious, a mirror to reflect your unconscious.
Okay, so the Synapse part is that part that I'm then categorizing.
Yeah, it's the architecture.
The architecture that then also works with Zapier that then sends to Coda.
Yes. Okay. So Coda collects this data and then manipulates it.
Coda is your digital backpack.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is all your digital backpack infrastructure, but Coda is the actual backpack itself that then you go. So to me, the sort of way that I kind of am doing this right now would be that I would do something like, as I have that profound thought, I would probably add that into one of my like Evernote files, but then it does seem like this is a lot more. The speed, I think, is probably, it might be somewhere around 5x. It might be 5 times faster to do it this way, is what it appears right now, which is very exciting. That's a big deal.
And so what's even more interesting is the actual post-processing capabilities, which I would like to, let me see if we can mirror it.
One sec. We're starting the mirror again.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So I gotta find. Okay, I found it here. Mirror PC. So so now to reflect this. So let me just let's see if it pops up. Okay. So here's and these architectures, right? They can be fairly sophisticated. I mean, I've built close to about 15 of them to automate different aspects of my life. So one would be a to-do list tracker, right? Build a focus module. And that's something in the hyper productivity category, right? So you're working on how to make things more productive. These 3 buttons, one of them is a dream capture. Actually, maybe if we click that, it's a dream capture thing. So I wake up and I record a dream and I do an analysis. So you see how there's pre-categorized things, and if I choose a category, right? So I'm happy to show my. Let's just say these are the. So if it's a full lucid dream or our favorite, let's say sex dreams, right?
Oh my god, or a zombie apocalypse. yeah.
It creates a let's say a calculator right over here. So let's say what was your lucidity in the dream? So that manipulates the sleep score calculator, quality of sleep. So essentially, you're training your mind to get certain types of dreams. Anyway, that it's just research. This is a research thing for lucid dreaming, but it's still nonetheless almost just a data tracking kind of scientific tool for capturing my
the quantified self of consciousness at its. Yeah, this is great.
Actually, I did 50 push-ups earlier, and this is my daily workout thing. So you could see over here, the blue one is a face. It's funny. It's face stretch. I do face stretching.
Face stretching is super important. Right?
Yeah. So we just did some push-ups. I'm gonna click that 50 button, and that automatically gets rid of it and shows me what I have left for the day. So this is my queue of workouts. And actually, if you want to see deep form, that's my app that I built to track my workouts and the average completion. And you could see I clearly don't do my burpees. And you could go granularly inside of any one of these. And really, you can become very intimate with your data sets. Here are the thoughts that I captured today. Some of these are...
There's the creative tax for incompetence.
Yeah, you saw it over there.
Saw
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Let me show you Fantasy Lab. Now, this is kind of a fascinating area where I'm currently running multiple labs, and it even shows what kind of lab it is. So, Metamorphosis app would be something where I'm training active listening. I speak enough. I talk a lot. And this year and next, I intend to listen more carefully.
Yeah.
You need to track your progress for that.
Yeah. The whole planet does, yeah. That's a good one.
There's an empathy engine. There's different tools here. Coexistential Institute, that's kind of like essentially it's a research module for existential risks like climate change and other stuff, and that's where I'm putting the basis for a fusion reactor. Like, we need to build a fusion reactor in San Diego. We'll talk about that in more detail later.
Yeah, we do.
So this tracks your thoughts on, let's say, cognitive revolutions, conflict research. I do a lot of that because I understand where they're coming from as somebody with I have the DNA for conquering, but if you really think about it, and this is talking to all the conquerors out there, you already own it. What are you conquering? You already own this whole space. Already belongs to you. What are you trying to get more of? Mm-hmm. What are you hoarding? Right, so the hoarding behaviors, it kind of reduces that. Decision science is a very powerful one. I want to take you into ego therapy. That's a very interesting one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep.
Transforming, following ego all the way through, and actually turning negative ego into positive ego. There's a way to use ego as an instrument, as a tool, and I actually found that the fuel that I used to use for my creativity and innovation has been typically sexual drive as well as aggressive energy, fight, kill or be killed, right? And that's worked, and I know a lot of people that works for. That's fine. However, over the last 3 to 4 years, I've been treated with so much love, respect, and compassion.
I was just about to say that. What if love and compassion is actually a better fuel that's actually more efficient? Yeah. Which is the mystic traditions actually say that it is. And yeah.
I've gotten enough love over the past 4 years to fuel my creation of whatever stuff for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. To abundantly give it away. And I want to invest into people. And actually, I mean, this is maybe the wrong strategy, maybe the right one. I don't know. But the people that deserve love the least should essentially get it the most in order to wire them into the tapestry of the collective unconscious. Because they're barely hanging on, and they want to contribute. They just don't know how, and they resist. They fight back. They want to be noticed. They want to help out, and they need to be given support on how to do that, I believe, with tools like this, potentially. Yeah. So let me maybe show you some cool stuff. So what's interesting here? Let's kind of I want to jump into a cool one. Let's see, health monitor, maturity dev kit. That's a pretty cool one. Maturity dev kit, right? Maturity, I believe, is the most important word of the 21st century, because you can actually mature. Radically mature if you focus on maturing in certain areas, and these are buckets or wisdom playbooks that I've synthesized out of the thousands of notes that these are all notes that are then compiled into these categories, and that's where you recognize your fallibility, your humanity. You rediscover it. And you surrender to your weakness and just to your love, like you start loving again. You start loving humanity. Anyway, the point is, the people that I have this question that I often ask people: should we survive as a species? Should we make it? Should we continue, or should we be annihilated by AI, by asteroids, by climate? And I often, and I'm going to ask publicly right now, kind of on the scene, should we make it? Should we go extinct or not? Yes or no? Do we deserve it? for what we've done to each other and to ourselves? I answer right now, I want to live. We want to live. No hesitation. No, thought experiment for me. No hesitation. There's not a second of hesitation. Of course, I want to live, and gently push away all the people that struggle to find that answer, because they don't. They haven't matured enough to appreciate the profound beauty of life. They need to be guided. They need to be loved in order to recognize their place in the universe, their ecosystemic role in the society, an open source society where people contribute and add, essentially elect themselves to fix the republic. I don't need to wait until somebody hires me to fix my road, or to build a school, or to build a fusion reactor in order to convert seawater into tritium and deuterium, and then power the city, vertical farms. I'm not waiting for any government to do. In fact, if they get in my way, there's consequences to that. I'm not waiting for anybody, and I don't think anybody else should either. You want a society, you build it, you compose it. You are the composer of this reality, and bring me the person that tells you otherwise.
It's really interesting to me when you begin showcasing the way that you've decided to architect Synapse and Coda. So Coda is also a product of...
This is actually a really interesting point.
Okay.
Co-network, connect, physically, collaborate digitally, right? The computational renaissance. I started that after the Machine Learning Society, and that's been kind of a network that I've hybridized with, right? You can find these parasitic networks, but positive parasitism can be it can be beneficial with the appropriate organism. So this social network has attached to an anthropologist. And we observe and explore the world together. We help each other grow, and I believe this will be a common theme where I believe maybe simulation might be your hybrid network. Okay, these things hybridize with us, and then they feed off of our psychic energy, and we feed them with data. Mm-hmm. Right, so this is very interesting. Coda is a beautiful software, and it's actually out of Silicon Valley. And I use it in order to architect these databases. Okay. So I'm an artist on top of this Coda infrastructure.
Okay, got it. So is it something like you figured out a way that you think right now is most efficient given what exists to do the digital backpack? Because to me, given the amount of craziness that you just walked us through, that digital backpack is, in a sense, is kind of unpacked at your cognitive architectural level. And it would kind of be interesting to see how, if given the tools, like with my 4,000 Evernotes and these 700 interviews and this type of stuff, if there was a way to work on the process of hyper efficiency and hyper hierarchical sort of North Star prioritization of content, so that the sort of constant process of always having the AI coach showing in the digital backpack what the primary star point is in longevity and enlightenment, in the North Star execution. So one of the things that sort of seems to me to be happening, as a sense, is that there's like a there's like a version of this that's working really well for you, but that there's nobody else. Is it available for other people to come in and?
They can build it if they want to.
Okay.
I intend to distribute it as soon as it's ready for the mass. Now, this is existential technology, meaning it's so powerful that every writer knows this. Whatever you write down starts to happen. It starts to reveal itself into the world.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure to bring with this a ethical, just a set of, every set of tools, again, can be a tool or a weapon. And the people that want to use this as a toolbox for their creativity, I support, and I will restrict proactively, by any means necessary, this technology from people that are going to misuse it. And I think this is this is only one document, and I believe this architecture, Synapse, will be used more for trauma editing, for collecting every thought you collect. It typically, actually, if you look at them as a wave rather than a particle, every thought is a particle. But when you look at it as a wave, emotions are waves. They're not a single point. It's a distributed kind of thing. You often reveal you're trying to describe the same thing over a period of weeks from different angles. You're kind of collecting angular data about it, and when you see it in perspective in a line, you go, oh, so this sentence has a piece of this sentence has a piece of that, and you consolidate those topics, those points, those individual reveries into a wisdom playbook. And all of a sudden now you have a concrete structure of a synthesis of information that you can now leverage for your to-do list. And I kind of describe this technology actually as so I ride a motorcycle, a Victory Hammer 2017, and beautiful bike. I love that feeling. It's about as intense as I am, 1750 cc's. But when I use this technology on my desktop computer at home in San Diego, I feel like I've been on my bike, like I've been in a jet fighter, like strapped in with G-force on me. It really feels that intense. And what I'm doing when I'm flying around that thing is I'm sniping out to-dos.
Yep.
So there's moments when I run out of things to do. That's a very weird feeling when you're like, I actually have nothing to do because I've done all of my to-dos. I need to now go to a drawing board and figure out what I need to do next. It's a very interesting feeling. I would like to actually, I open this up over here. Maybe they can see it. So number one, and I think one of the interesting things here is actually that each thought, each reverie, I call them, can be distributed. And these are the ones that I've found. I'm sure there's more, but these are building blocks, Lego bricks, which compose the so for categories, for example, these are I've found, and these are experimental, but this could be a goal, or it could be something that I'm grateful for, or something that's hilarious, something that's love related, or metaphor. You get to categorize projects. These are the projects that I'm currently running. So you can actually label
Do you
things.
want to briefly just also show what's at the top there, which is the actual sort of take care of your mom. They are more fragile than you think. So nice. So nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if
and
you're
so now, what are you doing with this two sentences?
Well, number one,
so it's a profound thought. So this is one of the things that you double click in, you fill into the digital backpack.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with these two sentences in order to be able to make it enhance your North Star creativity?
Yeah. So my mom is an angel, like a real angel.
Yeah.
Which makes my father a demon. But that's a different time, different story, different place. But this idea, this thing I captured and is just a reminder to take care of my mom, to send her flowers every once in a while, to actually support her, right? Our moms, if you really think about it, they're currently experiencing this digital revolution, and on Facebook, they They don't know that the system, this machine, is targeting them. They're unaware, and they could be led down cognitive alleys that they're not equipped to deal with. Their time can be taken from them with games and little dings and bings and notifications. As a designer of social networks, I'm very proactive in reducing all the notifications that I get throughout the day, and I'm a professional at this. So again, every single one of them snaps you out of your momentum. Focus. When you're focusing, when you're really trying to get to the bottom of an idea and interpret it, sometimes a ding or a bing somewhere can really bring you out of that momentum.
Amen. Yeah. Cal Newport, deep work. It's really important. Yeah.
So you need to be hyper vigilant in maintaining your focus and your attention. You need to control that, and with that, that all of a sudden enables new capabilities. The moment you have your focus and your attention, all of a sudden you get to attend to or focus on, for some, family, for some, yourself, if you need that time to reflect upon yourself. And for some, on others, on your community. And that's where I'm at right now, to give back all of the love and compassion that I've received over these last years. You collect psychic energy, you build, you create in the silence of your, and then you reveal and you release and you give back. That is the contract.
It's like sponge theory in high-level perception.
Yeah,
it's super duper aligned. It's a very
sponge theory. Can you explain this a little bit?
It's just interesting that you describe that one, because it's it's like when you absorb as like a sponge, you absorb the peaks of the fitness landscape in different disciplines if you're trying to systematize genius, and then you add your unique soul angle to that and wring it out as a creative contribution. That's why it's sponge. Soak and then wring it out.
I like that.
Yeah. So
okay, yeah. The porous absorption of that kind of the surface area.
Yeah.
You let because a sponge, can have. What was a ridiculous fact that I like the lungs or something have 70 meters of surface area, while your skin only has 7, like something ridiculous like that. And if you really think about
this is because of the alveoli. Yeah.
So it was that fact profoundly affected me, and I recorded it into the profound category to remind me to look up and to look at the divine.
That's one, and then another one is those bronchi and the alveoli in the lungs, and then there's also the villi, the villus in the gastrointestinal tract. There's all these little tiny hairs, and so it's again one of those surface area ones, and so there's a lot of absorption that happens there, like with these ideas and concepts. Something that I thought was really interesting as you're like walking us through Synapse was that I like how it's kind of like, in essence, it's mostly a reflection of your consciousness, it's your creativity, it's your architecting of what you think is going to be the most optimal sort of tech stack for your digital backpack. And right now, I know that I'm using a digital backpack, and I know other people are using these digital backpacks. Not everybody is, and a lot of people are realizing that their digital backpacks can use these improvements like we're talking about on the conversation as well. And that it's a little bit difficult right now for the creatives that want to augment their digital backpacks to figure out how to do so, because the sort of systematized processes that enable us to do so are a little bit, in a sense, limited right now. And so it's cool seeing yours, because yours is, it's your own unique reflection of what you think is kind of the next gen step here. And I'm what's really interesting to me is I'm trying to think about what mine would look like, and what the other creatives that are listening that have these digital backpacks, how they would sort of also try and organize theirs and systematize theirs and make it so that they can cut those, like we were saying, all these, steps in the middle of the process away so that they can systematize the creativity. So I'm thinking about it like that. So it sounds like we have the Synapse process, we have the Coda infrastructure, and then we have this is all in your digital backpack, Tristen, Tyler Blake's individual digital backpack for now, because the tool itself, like you described, is the double edge. So you want to make sure that it's going to the creatives that you trust ethically and morally, this type of stuff.
Yeah, I want to accelerate specific people, high performers, people that I trust and like. So my friends out there and community members, you're welcome to reach out, and we'll get you hooked up, and just people that I'm impressed by. So I want to give it to the best first, and then I'll let them make the decision on who should share in the compliments of this kind of cognitive acceleration.
So are you going to make like an SDK for them, or what are you going to do?
We'll see. That's okay. An entire journey. I intend to build a year
ago when we interviewed Tristen, he was kind of more in the nascent stages of this. In the last year, he's really built this out a lot more. And so did you say you wanted to make this a course?
Yeah, I'm going to build a course on digital infrastructure for inventors.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So that's going to be highly specialized course. Think of it as a digital, like a fitted custom suit for inventors, like a digital outfit. I see these things as really custom fitted data infrastructures for your body specifically.
That's right. It's very much so like the fingerprint. The digital backpack's like a fingerprint. And so I see. So the course would enable the hyper creative to figure out how to make the fingerprint digital backpack for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then they'll undergo that process, and it's kind of like an invite-only tree branching style thing where it'll be ethically, morally, people will be they'll be held responsible for the people they invite and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then this is all going to be branded as something like Synapse, or it'll be called digital backpack.
So Synapse is the psychological app that kind of ambiently collects your inspirations and the snapshots of your emotions, right? And eventually you see down there.
One second.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're up.
Mm-hmm. So you see down there. There's actually a couple of more concepts, like neurotilts are fascinating. Different archetypes that you engineer for specific situations. So these are fun, experimental, psychological kind of things. But down here, so number one, when I'm preparing for a podcast or whatever, I can actually drop down that media button, and I'm kind of writing dozens of articles and creating dozens of videos at the same time. And when they're ready, when they're mature, they they show themselves as having the appropriate data collected, and I simply compile it. I add the syntax to it, and all of a sudden it's kind of a written article that I've pre-written just by walking around. And one of the things, I've been trying to build a social network for writers since I was 19. That was my first product, I think, that I ever. Literati.com was a long time ago. And ever since then, as a writer myself, I've always wanted to give writers tools to create these three-dimensional writing schemas, like character analysis. Like every reference of the character, I want to see that, and then in the following sentences. It's a data-driven approach to it. Well, what's interesting here is you actually are able to write, and by chapters you can organize. So you could compose a book ambiently. Very few writers sit down and write the book.
I love this. So let me see if I can hit this ball back again. So the idea is that Synapse is what enables the ambient collection of the ideas in the ocean to more rapidly be integrated into the digital backpack. And so we have that component to it, and then we have again the Coda infrastructure. We have the overarching idea of a digital backpack. So is there a brand for all of this yet? Or is that Synapse or what?
Co-Network is the or Co-Innovation Labs. The site that's kind of the overall inventor sort of studio.
Okay, so Co-Network's Innovation Labs is the a highest level umbrella of what is building out the Synapse and the Coda connection and the digital backpacks, and then to properly now I'm following. So
Machine Learning Society is the community.
ML Society is the community arm, and that's really cool because you can actually find out who in New York and San Diego and all these different places is actually doing what work in biotech or in blockchains and Ethereum applications, DApps.
And I host many events using this. Actually, I mean, just for event organizers and community organizers, again, if you really think every time you host an event, you do the same steps over and over, and you give it a name, you have a picture, and once you really do this enough time, you recognize that 3 hours of work with a system like this and simply tagging the people you want to invite for speaker, sponsor, blah, 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 and then you wire out emails. So now you could plug this in to Gmail. You could plug it into different apps for text messaging, Slack for team management. I'm very interested in high performance teams. Yes. So most of my research actually goes into maybe I could pull this up as a fantasy app. High performance team research. So I really want to, let's say the mission is to either snipe out an asteroid heading our way, and we have 5 days to do it, and we need 5 of the world's top experts. How would you decide on who are the people that are going to have the best aim?
Yeah, this is
right.
Exactly.
It's a legitimate question.
This is very important. There's a lot of these sort of critical questions like that.
Mirrors on satellites.
May I for a moment, because I think one of the things that people like, especially like you, may be extremely you might be underestimating a bit, or maybe in this case it'd be over. I think it's over. Yeah, I think you're overestimating the ability of people to understand your own cognitive schema.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Okay, so I think that's why I have to do this, because I'm having a lot of... I've known you for a couple years, and I don't even fully follow a lot of your schema, and I've known you a couple years, and so now you're on the program and you're trying to share your schema, and we need, in a sense, we just need a small little architectural map. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so what I'll do is I'll try and sort of do this, and then you can tell me where things are on or off and stuff. So
and then I would love to show them STEM Notebook, which is a totally different interpretation. The STEM Notebook is still within Co-Network, right? Yes.
Co-Network's Innovation Labs, right?
Yes.
And is it correct to say that STEM Notebook within Co-Network Innovation Labs is it's connected to Synapse and digital backpacks and stuff like that, but it's its own sort of branch of that. Okay, so all right, let me draw this. Let me draw this. Okay. Okay, so the top umbrella term is the Co-Network, and then you have you have the innovation labs, and then now you have this is the sort of, this is the digital backpack, and we're actually, let me use I just want to use another color to sort of help with this process.
See, the step that you're doing, actually, that's one of the interesting things, that once you start building your custom fitted suit, your data infrastructure, you start to have to catalog things and use taxonomy and build an ontology, your own specific one.
Yeah.
And once you have to do that's a forcing function for you to now organize and catalog things, and you start recognizing that, oh, wait a minute, this is connected to there, or this piece of wisdom is relevant in multiple projects. You don't have to rewrite it again. You've already done the analysis on this, the calculus, and now you simply need to let it be useful in multiple projects. So that's kind of also the symmetry of the system. There's a lot of beauty in the way that it's composed as well in that perspective.
Yeah. So, all right. So this uses those. So, okay, if I have this right, the Co-Network Innovation Labs is the umbrella, and then within it you have the architecture of...
Co-Innovation Labs is the top.
Co-Innovation Labs.
Yeah.
And the network is more like the ML Society.
Co-Network is a social network that I built for computational scientists.
Yes. And so Co-Innovation Labs is the umbrella for these two specific things. Yeah. So we have the we have the so we have the co-network, and we have the ML society, and then we have the co-network, we have the ML Society, and then we have co-innovation labs, which is this. And under co-innovation labs, we have the digital backpack idea, which is using Synapse and Coda. And then we have the STEM notebook idea, which we're going to unpack here in a moment. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, these are pretty fluid things.
They're very fluid things. It's not to try and box things. It's just more to create an architecture for people to actually get what we're talking about. Because we've been talking about a lot of different ideas and terms, and so it's a lot different. You as a guest on the program you're just a lot different than a lot of other guests, and you also speak about it in a way that is assuming that other people are really following the way that you're explaining your architectures and whatnot. And so my role is to just try and help put it in some sort of a way that visualizes for people to get it at a deeper level.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
and I really like
this
that.
is helpful.
As an ecosystem role, by the way, your ability to take it, synthesize what I say and introduce it to a population. I've become so appreciative of this role in the society, because you recognize that some people will hear what you have to say and others need another voice to make it clear. And
that's right. Amen. You got it.
And that's beautiful. That's what makes
this. That's been happening since the beginning of time. There have been so many geniuses that have kind of had a struggle with communicating what's at the peak of their conceptual schema, and they need some sort of an assistant in the process. And I am that for so many different people that come
a translator,
ELI5, art, synthesis, distillation, this type of stuff.
I like that. You are definitely a translator of complex ideas, and you simplify them a lot. And that's the beauty of simplifying ideas, and that's E equals MC squared, right? That's a lot of stuff synthesized into a useful, practical tool that any day people can use. And that's why a schmuck can throw a nuclear warhead at somebody else, which by the way needs to be resolved. That whole thing, I'm sorry, but people that don't understand physics shouldn't have power over nuclear technologies. That's a no-go right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got to be careful with the democratization of power. Period.
Power must only be held by those that have earned their wisdom. Precisely.
And especially those kinds of power. Yeah, you mentioned earlier a metaphysical point about whether we should hit our godhead or not, and I didn't hit the ball back, but I'm generally in a pretty good understanding of Darwinian metaphysics, and I do think that applies, and I think it would be a good idea for us on a universal level to take this seriously and to reach our godhead. And so that would be my sort of quick 2 cents about that. But I think we should definitely show, did we do enough on before we do STEM Notebook? We did enough, I think, covering. Okay, let's go to STEM Notebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that first of all, what I've found is depending on your data metabolism, your ability to absorb information. Some people just get full, like a cup. Like imagine pouring water into a cup and it just starts to overflow. They're full.
Actually, Tristan's been using this really good word since he came, and I hadn't sort of put these concepts together yet. But the same way that we have a metabolism, our ability to physiologically power our biological organism, it's the same way that Tristan's describing data metabolism, and I think it's a really important analogy because before we started, we were talking about the different resolutions of perception, and in many ways this is extremely deeply aligned with high-level perception. And so it's important that if you are potentially living in more of a unidimensional sort of analysis, or maybe you're in the center of the bell curve and you're reasoning with a couple of these pieces, take your time with this style of content. Go back and look up words that you don't know. Really try and immerse yourself at a deeper level into upgrading your perception to seeing in like 1080p and 4K and above and that kind of stuff. And so eventually I appreciate data metabolism. It's a good one. It's you can tell when you're talking to somebody that is but you can tell by the way that they hit the tennis ball back in the game of tennis. So if they do a good job at hitting the tennis ball back, they were able to metabolize and add their own creativity. But if they do a really bad job, or just completely ignore the profundity of the things you were saying, then you know that you're speaking at a different level of resolution.
Yeah. And we're here to invest in those people to see clearly.
Yeah.
Like, we're here
That's
to
right.
invest into
That's
you.
right. That's right.
I want you to think about how, when this autonomous vehicle company that you're thinking about, you want to, put a library maybe in your autonomous vehicle, you want to put a chess set in yours and market it to people that do that. So it's a very interesting opportunity. I want to integrate the collective intelligence of the community, and nobody should be left behind unless they've.
That's the role of portals.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason why people should be left behind, and they won't be. This is chapter 4, portals and high level perception, and you absolutely have to, the bell curve is moving at an evolutionary pace in the Ouroboros cyclical shape as we explore infinity as consciousness. And in this case, everybody is slowly moving away from violence, tyranny, slavery, corruption, this type of thing, up over time to the genius visionary level. And so portalists are people like what we're describing that then go and perform these incredible feats of shooting some sort of a portal into the bell curve that enables people to upgrade their perception. So this is absolutely critical aspect to is bringing everyone along with the journey and focusing on that process. So let's do STEM notebook.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
And I often find that when you look for others to destroy, you're typically destroying the parts of yourself that you hate in them. Well, every time. So notice your hate, and you can run out of hate. You can run out of these things, and when you do, you'll recognize that you're destroying the reflection of yourself. Leave your mental disease out of the society. Like hold it on your own. Do not introduce it into the ecosystem. We have no room for that, especially during this time of great stress. Like, keep it to yourself. Or work on it at the very least, and there's tools for that, for trauma repair, but do not bring it to the public square.
So let's unpack STEM notebook. So this is on, when you hit the site, when you hit innovation-labs.co on the link in the bio below, on the left, you'll see STEM Notebook, and you can click that, or there's another link for STEM Notebook in the bio below as well. And then that'll take you here. And so what are we dealing with STEM Notebook, Tristen?
Yeah, so, I read a lot of books, and I've been watching a lot of lectures, particularly these last few months, on neuroscience and music and biology. I finally started to touch, to understand biochemistry. Like, it's been a long process that I've been afraid of it to a certain extent. It's so complicated, so many moving parts and pieces, and for a person that doesn't have the ability to invest into a university and a family to hold them there over a period of 4 years, right? And they have to take debt on aka slavery. So this is a tool, a vehicle for people to be able to touch science, to absorb it, to interact with it, without having to invest all of this research of years and years of just compiling relationships between different phenomena. This synthesizes it for you, and I'll show you how that happens in practice. Of course, you need to do the work, and you need to watch the lectures. But when you're ready to when you take your notes, and as a child, I never took notes in school. I have very bad grades from high school and from college, very very bad, and that's because I was not I guess I couldn't even read my own handwriting or something like that. So one of the things I want to mention is that these tools are built out of necessity. I wouldn't survive if I didn't have the ability to organize myself because of my lack of natural organization. I had to build mechanisms to help me track, myself in order to improve myself. Otherwise, if I was left to just do it based on memory, I would vanish. So it's a very interesting point that this is out of desperation, literally, and that's where a lot of people can come to it. in the sense of, oh, this will hold you up. You won't forget it as soon as you stop.
Yeah.
This holds it in a like a RAM, like imagine an external database, a memory bank, and I study memory pretty substantially. So this is kind of like a memory bank that holds the knowledge that you've acquired for you, and when you need it, when you come back, it's always there.
I appreciate your story about the forcing function. I think that's a really interesting story. A lot of people that are neurodiverse are experiencing forcing functions of needing to really embody their like genius level mutations, and that will hopefully be a forcing function to create the architectures that enable more people to express themselves creatively, given how the vast majority of the evolutionary pace are stamping out gingerbread cookies. So is it true then to say something like the STEM notebook would be something like the when you talk about a subject like biochemistry and the complexity of it, it's basically trying to connect the dots in the field of biochemistry and give that in a relatable way to the one that's interested in pursuing it?
Yeah. Okay. So let's see how that looks like in practice. So number one, if you scroll over here, scroll down, so you see those buttons. They're not active for you because you're not the owner of the dock. But eventually, I'll allow people to fork from here, to just fork and start from this point.
Okay.
And then to be able to develop their own journeys. So these are the current books, lectures, podcasts that I'm currently covering.
So should we click into one?
Yeah, try to click into one. Let's see what happens.
Wisdom of history?
Yeah, try to click into that. So can you open that box on the left? Try that box all the way on the left. Right, a little bit to the right.
Oh, this box?
A little to the left. That one. Mm-hmm. Try to open it. Let's see. Okay, so here with the data that you see, it catalogs the actual course, the lecture. So and if you don't see it, but there's a drop down for books, for everything. So I've cataloged this by domain. If you scroll down, this covers. So I've already covered this many times in the past, but so I'm re-listening to it again.
I see.
And this is for every book in the database. So if you click on the top, all the way on the top, yes, right there. Yeah, click on that. That will show you. Actually, sorry, that's the data master. Go on the left side.
Yep.
And click on books, lectures, film.
Yep.
Right there.
Okay.
So that view that you were seeing before is now being represented in a totally different way. And that's actually the beauty of this technology. It lets you see things, graphs, charts, tiles, and you get insight into missing data just by visualizing it in a different way.
Yeah.
That's a process.
Definitely.
It's a very powerful process.
We were talking about that a lot when just like earlier in this episode where we were talking about the visualization of what's in the data silos and leveraging that. So would you say that this is a tailored or personalized, like when I land on STEM Notebook, am I like selecting my interests of where I want to pursue, and then you kind of say that these are some really good syntheses of the subjects that you want to pursue in like relatable videos or relatable books or relatable podcasts. So watch these and then you'll get a little score on how you test or something.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Okay. So over here you're seeing books that are in the AI and computational sciences category. The black ones I've read, the white ones are next. So I know exactly what I don't know or what I need to read. And if you scroll down, this is pretty, there's a lot of books. Some of them are ranked. This is my personal ranking. But these are the things that I've covered so far by category up there. And if you scroll up, you could click. If you scroll all the way up, click on lectures. So this will be a consolidated list of lectures in every category. And this is kind of the methodology, right, to actually organize things and create groups. And I could do this in any way that I want.
Yeah, this is super interesting. So in a sense, it's like, let me see if I can hit this all back. So it's something along the lines of this. Like currently we're maybe looking at specific fields of interest that we really enjoy and that we're really excited about. And what's happening is we basically maybe we'll read a book or we'll watch a YouTube podcast or a lecture on a specific subject. And then what happens is that basically disappears from our data visualization stream. and we no longer ever get the opportunity to kind of look at who we were, how we got here, the data visualization process. We can go back and see it. So in this
and the
case,
actual notes from the book,
and the
directly
notes,
like the quotes from the book,
rather than for me like taking my, like I noticed here,
look
just
up
to
Cersei.
just
Search
to
Cersei.
start. Let me start here, because I think I can maybe try and make this relatable for me and others. Okay, so here for under like cognitive sciences and psychology, you have books that are very common for those that are quite awake, I would say. Behave by Robert Sapolsky, Homo Deus by Yuval Noah Harari, Stealing Fire by Stephen Kotler, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. And I think what we're sort of seeing here is that rather than sort of getting through these books and sort of just having them separately in your library shelves and then or digitally on your Kindle or whatever, and then having like my notes, for example, on Homo Deus or Why We Sleep by Matt Walker, my notes are in Evernote then, and then if I want to ever access those, I need to go there and access them there. I see you have these little bars at the top that show maybe progress or proficiency, maybe is another way. Like even if you've read, Why We Sleep, you read it 3 years ago. How much do you really remember from Why We Sleep? And so maybe there's, for me, the way that I would go back right now is I would go to my note in Evernote, Why We Sleep, and I would look for, because I do this process of exegesis where I basically highlight out or star, use emojis and colors and boldings and all this type of work to sort of draw out the salient points. And I would have to go and review that for like 5-10 minutes before I would maybe talk to Matt about his work. And so, or if I want to revisit it because someone else triggered me to revisit it. So sort of this is the process of being able to catalog your, not only what you did in terms of books, lectures, podcasts, where you're sort of heading. This is the beginnings of that sort of AI coach that helps along the way of, we're noticing that you want to get into learning how to do dApps on Ethereum. In order for you to do so, you have to, watch these 4 talks that Vitalik gives, this type of thing. And you have to go through the process of actually doing one of the programming yourself in Ethereum. And so I really like that a lot. I think that it's a very important and helpful visualization. So the STEM notebook is tailored individually.
So this is a general, like these are just my
This
books
is
that
you. We're on
now,
Tristan Tyler Blake's page. Yeah.
Now go to so actually click on Retina dashboard.
Okay.
Right?
And I see there's a sign-in button in the top right corner. Meaning
that's to Coda.
Oh, that's the Coda. I see.
Yeah.
And
so this is built on top of that.
This is built on top of Coda. And then is there a existing for the co-network at least? Can they join STEM Notebook, or is it?
Right now it's in observing mode. I'm still building it for myself. I'm still taking notes on books. I just need it for myself.
And they observe your use
and
of it.
I want people to see what's possible.
I see.
Experiment on their own. Then I'll give them the actual course, the tool set, and then let them
So same
fly.
thing with the digital backpack we were talking
all
about
of these
earlier.
Things,
Yeah,
and there's a couple of other apps that are interesting.
I see. So Retina dashboard. Yeah.
So this button, if you were to click it, it would immediately take you to a new note in that book, so that it's a kind of a rapid entry book. So it's very cool. Here shows you like a graph of my current knowledge.
So this is what percentage you're complete in these different fields. So you wrote these different titles of fields that you want to pursue as your interest, and then you've added the little the little widgets of the different fields, and maybe you've added like 26 widgets, and then if you've only done 13 of them, it would say 50% complete.
Precisely. Yes. So
okay.
I'm tracking my progress just to make sure that it's a forcing function for me to continue reading. And plus, when I finish this, I know what I need to do next. Like all those books that you saw that are white, they're gonna one by one kind of fall into the black zone.
Yeah, because
I'm covering knowledge that I need, and I'm prioritizing knowledge that I need to know. Based on.
And you're doing it in a way that is really systematized and organized towards that North Star. You're kind of acting as your own AI coach right now. Like I'm getting your analogy more in terms of you kind of flying in that like jet and like tackling the to-dos, because you've kind of made a process for yourself that enables you to do that, whereas so many of us are still kind of in like maybe like I have the Google Calendar and the Evernote, and there's like all these other sort of places that are storing these items.
Your cost of jumping between these apps, you forget what you were doing. Like you needed to post something on Facebook, you forget why you're there, and you're all of a sudden scrolling something.
Something like
I
that,
built a dark geometry media toolkit that as soon as I post, like I can record something right now, post it there, and it will wire it out to all of my social networks at once through Zapier.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yep.
I just don't have time to post it on each one, you know.
Exactly,
And these tools.
That's a big waste of time right now. I agree.
Yeah.
And there's some software that's doing that, but it's not as quick as what you're explaining.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what's this now?
This is just a distribution of my knowledge in terms of what I've covered. So this is all the books that I've completed or lectures or whatever by, if you scroll down, you'll see like what are the categories.
Oh, there they are, yeah.
So this is kind of for me to see, oh, wow, I have a lot of work in that. And now I'm catching up on, my biology or whatever. And if you scroll even lower, so this is
a data visualization tool for your cognitive schema based on how many books, lectures, podcasts that you've analyzed in the space of that specific domain, and that's a really useful visualization tool. I really like what you're doing here, and then this is another visualization.
Yeah, just another way to see. Actually, this visualizes how many concepts I have in my inquiry map, and we're going to jump. You're going to be able to click on this in a sec. So these concepts I'm developing like. There are concepts in biology or physics that require a definition or notes. So if you click on inquiry map, you'll actually get to see.
This is cool.
What happens there? So zoom out a little. Okay, so now this is actually the bread and butter of this whole thing.
Graphic.
This is the bread and butter. So click on artificial intelligence. Let's say.
Okay. The inquiry map. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is where those 400 concepts that were in the last graph are stored.
Precisely.
So now, if I go and I learn from books, podcasts, lectures, and I take in these 400 AI concepts, right now my best way of doing this is I have Evernotes that are specifically titled like concepts, like my core concepts. And so then in those core concepts, what I have is I have it chunked up by like biotech or neurotech or AI or blockchain, and then I'm doing exegesis again, where I'm bolding like the word itself, and then I have the definition as synthesized as I've done it. And so in this case, this looks so much higher level, because again, here's all the different categories on the left, and then from here, then you click into AI and you go boom into the first like AI, bioinformatics, brain computer interfaces, etc.
And so click on one of them, like click on another one just to kind of
let's do cybernetics. Okay.
Yeah. So these are the main concepts in cybernetics that I've found. And
this is way better. Yeah, this is way better.
And you open one of them like
this is way better. It's way faster. It's way more properly organized, related. And for example, like, yeah, it's just for me when I will literally look for the word cybernetics in my notes, and then I'll find where I put the main definition. But my process of synthesis is very much like yours, but you've put it into Coda, which is way more efficient than Evernote for what we're trying to both do.
Yeah.
So you're teaching me a lot about the structure of the data to make it a lot more visual. This is a much better tool for hyper creatives and hyper conceptual people to be able to actualize their fullest potential through data visualization in a way that's just more native and more it's a lot better.
Hey Coda, if you're listening,
we'll take some
somebody
plugs.
Needs to build out your VR data visualizations, call me. I can see what it's going to look like and how to manipulate data in multiple dimensions in a VR headset. And this will take on a life of its own in another way, an experiential data, a knowledge graph. Like you'll be able to actually interact and impact your data.
This is step 2. Maybe if step 1 is kind of what we're talking about with like where Wikipedia is nowhere near this caliber of, in my opinion, the hyperlinks there are a lot less structured like this, and it's not as actually fruitful. And in my notes where I try and do it, that's another small step up. This is a bigger step up, but it's still a step behind what we were just mentioning when you said that there's this beautiful data visualized knowledge graph that you get to interact with in like an AR or VR space. That's the next step, and then Neuralink and stuff is like the step above that. So
but you have to get there.
we have to get there, and this is the next step towards that. And then like you just plugged with Coda, the next step is to do this in the VR space and make it visualized. It's inevitable, yeah. And so so that's a good point. And actually, Coda, we've been plugging you a lot. We would love to
Shashir, get Shashir on here, please.
Yeah, get Shashir. Is that the founder?
Yeah, that's the main guy.
Shashir.
Yeah.
So first of all, Shashir needs to come on the show. Second of all, it would be great to work with them on the VR style knowledge graphs that we're talking about. So let's make that happen next.
Yeah,
okay.
different kind of handles. Like that's actually the future of VR is to develop these paint brushes.
Yes.
Per like every brand is going to have to like develop their own kind of tool set, and you'll be able to interact with it. And this will do one thing, and then this, and that's I think that's next, almost like app building kind of ecosystem.
So maybe the app building ecosystem right now was internet. It still is smartphones, and now dApps, decentralized apps. Very awesome. Next is, like you were describing in this VR AR space, it's really about like the gesticulation of the hand and the tool that we put, the glove. It's called like a glove. Yeah. And then the gloves, you switch between different gloves depending on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then the gloves, whatever glove you're wearing, triggers the differences in your environment that you then go and engage with and complete tasks with that. And then it becomes the brain. And then it becomes the Neuralink, the direct connect with just the thought and action cycle without... maybe some glove stuff along the way and some, but
you still need to train your Neuralink, by the way. Like
that's
when
right.
You do this, when you are actively collecting that, the next step is to put a headset on and then append to that file a digital signature of your neural, cortical activity, and then train off of that contextually, because you're adding context to everything.
Yeah.
Well, later on, once you've have a couple of thousand, cycles of training, then it's like, oh, are you trying to say this again? Do you want to data tag it that way? And you either confirm or decline that, and you train it. But I don't see any other methodology. I really don't see another way to get that road.
I love what you're saying, because it's absolutely inevitable that the only path that you're describing is that we have to create a biometric correlate to a state of creative execution, and then that becomes the way to train the Neuralink. So the biometric correlate to the thought send Tristen text. Love you, brother.
I love you too, man.
Like that.
We're gonna do this together.
We are gonna do this.
It's happening. It's already happened. They just need to find out about it, essentially.
Well,
time has to catch up.
We need to do a good enough job at synthesizing the complexity of the digital signal processing of neural correlates and biometrics, and that related to the actual cataloged execution of whatever strategic decision the conscious agent is actually making, and then having that biometric correlate in a catalog of that. So that is, I think, going to be the hardest thing to get right. And then that's going to be sort of like reinforcement learning trained over time to become more and more aligned with the reward function of the North Star. And then that's how that gets trained. And then I love how we went into the futurism right now, right here, because you're definitely spot on that this is the step to Coda's VR style fabric, which is then the step to the Neuralink style fabric. These are the steps. And I think this is where your genius is shining finally on the show. And I've really wanted to get to exactly this point, which is to show that your genius is shining by taking us to that next step of the organizational. You're using the engineering infrastructure of Coda to build the STEM notebook on top of that. That then I would love to see an A in there for STEAM, right? That's something I would love to see.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I would love to see.
That's very interesting. Yeah,
I would love to see the A in there for STEAM, and then I'd love to add and help you with the art one and stuff like that. And then I'd love to work with Coda on taking this to the next that VR level, and then I hope everyone has had as profound of a enriching experience as I've had smelling Tristen's genius right here, his flower genius, because he's totally spot on. That look at how much better this is. Click data science
and open one of them. Oh, I actually want to show you. I want to reveal kind of the interesting thing behind it. So open one of these,
like brain computer interface.
Yeah, just open it now.
Like click this.
Control Shift Spacebar, I believe is the.
Okay,
I don't know what it is on Mac, but. There's like a special. You have to learn these things to radically accelerate.
Oh, it's accelerator
But just
speed.
open. There's like the little box.
Oh,
that opens.
this one.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
so
now
now
we're in a larger.
Yeah, now this opens up the actual box unit, and what it shows you is brain-computer interface is attached to these items. I'm really interested. I actually want to show you the Herodotus network in a sec.
Oh,
So-
that's right.
So these buttons over here, plus, minus,
Yeah.
whatever, that's actually to train yourself. You don't have access to that. Maybe if you
I
logged
see.
in, you would. But
Okay.
but when you click plus or minus, it shows you like you're familiar or unfamiliar with the tab.
That's right.
And
okay.
now you could kind of rapidly go familiar, not familiar, familiar. So you actually get to push to the top of your priority chart the things
Yeah.
you don't understand about, let's say, proteins or something like that.
I see. So yeah, that's where we're training for what we want to learn. I see. Now, where did you say you wanted to take us to?
I'll go to
Something
the
Greek?
figures. So
Okay,
this is
contemporary figures
Yeah.
is where we're out on the left.
this is a really exciting piece of research that I'm doing right now.
This is probably another one of my favorite things that you're doing, because I have this Evernote file called Influences, and it's basically I have 1,000 of the most uncommon geniuses that have ever lived before us today, and even those that are alive today, and I just have them in a rank order of the most profound, and that is extremely difficult to query and to like, because if you look at what Tristan's made here, he's made this bar at the top, right, that enables you to sort of
Can you?
I can't on
You might
right
have
now
to log in.
I might have to log in and manipulate it and category all, but like
No.
if I can click category and click philosophy or click category and enter spirituality or category and inventor, this type of stuff, it'll basically do the function of where I myself am struggling right now, because the best I can do in the categorization is try and tag the individual inventors with the word, and then with the hashtag inventor, and like that's a lot of work. And same thing with the year, if I want to look at the specific date range of, like, literally if you want to look up 1800 to 1840, the geniuses in that period of time, I can't do that right now. I can't, like, I would have to add, I'd have to add that specifically 1800, 1801, 1802, 1803, and I would have to add that like date range. And this is a lot of, because I'm really trying to, as we are going to have talk to Neil about as well, is that we're all trying to systematize genius. And you've built out your sort of, your take on how you can build on top of a framework like Coda, that you are designed your way to systematize your genius. And I've been doing this basically building on top of Evernote. And that's been a lot more difficult in the sense of, I think what you're doing is, I think, the next step totally in that direction. And then eventually you'll be, you're in that VR environment and you're clicking and dragging and you're categorizing and all stuff. So yeah, I hope that you're seeing how much this is really landing in my heart. Yeah, because your genius is very much so landing in my heart right now.
Thank you, man.
Because it's very relatable to me, especially because I have this style of organization, but it's built on top of Evernote. It's just nowhere near as this is the next level of it.
Well, that's my goal, to support creativity around the world. I believe it's an untapped natural resource, and it just needs to be freed. Like one of my statements is free the angels. Yeah. Just free the angels and let them fly. There's so much beauty in the world. Just let it free. And I know there's kids out there that are just brilliant, that are 12, 13, 16. They need a little bit of support. They need a bit of love. They need a father most of the time. And they need courage. They need somebody to show them how it's done. They need somebody to not be afraid.
Yeah.
And to show them what that looks like, and to support them. So I'm here to do that as long as I have energy. And I don't know how long I'm going to be here on this planet. I'm kind of a guest here, a tourist a little bit. and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay. I'm free to every day I wake up and I'm surprised that I get another moment to experience this because you know it's just a wonderful gift to be alive, and I want to share this gift and dance around it with everyone that I meet.
Yes.
Everyone.
I would say that my metaphysics are a little bit different in the sense that we are the publishers and players of the reality, and that you actually made the decision to come here at this exact time, but that everybody does that and then forgets. That's the process of consciousness. And so I think that you came here with the very specific purpose. Like, your soul angle is to do in very similar ways what my soul angle is to do. And you're definitely leveraging the cutting edge information technologies that enable the systematization of creativity in this form. And so I think that that's very clearly your soul angle right now. We should also go to Quark Park. How many did we get to other things on the left side of STEM Notebook or did we cover everything?
Yeah, the logic behind it, like you're only seeing the end result. There's a lot of columns that are invisible.
Totally.
Thousands of different data points. So what's interesting about this is actually, this is the thing that I find relevant now, but I can tag on several new kind of columns, and then that will reveal other insights when I need them. One of the documents that I'm building right now is very experimental, but it essentially takes every element and then takes every column of information about it. The phylogenetic tree of life, kind of I track every way down there, all of our ancestors. Genetics, like all the different proteins and all the methods, transcription, all that stuff.
This is great.
So it's logging photosynthesis, so people can see it, and they'll be able to see it in one picture.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah,
and then explored by its pieces, but they'll see the actual thing on its own, and it won't be something that you need to look up several textbooks, two-dimensional images to see.
Which is right now the best we have is that evolutionary phylogenetic tree that sort of curves right now in terms of the 3.5 billion year evolution, and that's sort of the best we have. But to actually be able to dynamically like head into that and see the connections of that with like how blockchain works, this type of stuff, these are like the most profound, I think, realizations. That's right. I'm pumped for stuff like that. Should we head over? Are we?
Yeah, let's do Quark Park. I would like to talk about Quark Park because I think that's kind of existentially important.
I agree. Great.
So I hope people just have faith that there are people out there that want to give you access to this stuff as soon and as safely as possible. And you'll be able to bask in our universe. You'll be able to experience it, for yourself, and really, So I kind of want to share that with people because I know some people have they're unhappy with the current situation. But when it comes to jobs, like if there's a career that you want that doesn't exist yet, invent it, create it. It's free. Go.
Amen.
Nobody's holding you back.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Carve your path.
I would like to let's jump into Quark Park because this is kind of my during COVID I saw enough to
I know you're hitting the story, but I think what I'm gonna do, because I also want to make sure that, because there's so much to unpack with this, and then I still want to hit a couple other things, plus I still want to make sure we get to be able to sit down here. I'll hit the first ball over on a high level, and then I'll just hear you hit it. From what I understand, the metaverse is very similar to Quark Park, which is very similar to what other people have talked about as a very much so. We were talking about this branding before we started, but yeah, the idea of like what the artificial general intelligence, simulation theory, bio and neurotech, infinite designer realities, that there's a massive catalog of different experiences that consciousness can enter into and undergo. And one of those experiences is to land on this planet orbiting the star that is an 80-year lifetime that we came from. So the Big Bang potentially is the metaverse. We came from there. And now we're making the metaverse and going into another cycle of exploring different experiences for conscious agents to undergo. And so what I see in Quark Park is I see that catalog of infinite experiences for conscious agents to undergo, and that we become awake, truly finally awake to the kingdom of God within, the kingdom of God of consciousness, the kingdom of God of the metaverse that we're entering into, of infinite realities to explore, which is where we came from. That's how I understand it. How do you understand it? How do you resonate with that?
Very much so. You know, I'm a very visuospatial person. I love kind of geometry, and I've rediscovered geometry, and I'm talking about in the Pythagorean sense, almost like a cult of geometry in a way. I believe these actual cults are coming back, these Greek mystical cults, the Dionysians. I'm sort of maybe I'm a worshiper of the Dionysian cult, you know, of dance and these things. I found that right now we have the computational power, and unfortunately not everyone can afford this yet. That needs to change. However, cards like NVIDIA and Intel, some of the partners that I've worked with in the past actually, are developing these computational chips that are able to high resolution simulate reality in VR space. So right now we're at this threshold where actually you can forget that you have a physical body. Sometimes I dance in my VR headset. This is one memory that brought me to my knees.
There you go.
This one experience where the sun was in front of me, and it was very scary a little bit actually, because I was alone in my room, and the sun is just glowing hot, and there's planets appearing. This is a very powerful experience in one of the VR games. And these planets are kind of appearing. It's called circles.
Yep.
Circles. And a famous director actually composed this, and that's when I saw that going forward, I'm not creating any media that's not VR, 360 VR, kind of that space anymore. I'm sorry, but there's no substitute for that experience.
Totally.
There's nothing else. So the sun is standing there, and I was looking at it, and I'm just like, and I started being drawn to it. I started walking towards it in my room. And there was this critical point where I'm like, am I still here, or am I a spirit flying into the sun? Am I observing it as some conscious agent? I'm going towards it. It's indistinguishable from you know, and I was coming towards it, and I just broke. The moment I saw inside of it, I fell to my knees, because and I had a somewhat of a you know, a mystical experience. I finally touched the sun, which I believe is actually a raw source of consciousness.
Yes.
A raw form.
Yes.
This one very beautiful experience with this.
I love it.
With this woman in Miami, and you know, just I was in the sun, and when I got back to San Diego, I was missing her a little bit, and I went out on my balcony, and the sun shined on me, and it felt like she was there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, the raw source of her emerged from there, and the concentrated form of this person, you know, was the person I was meeting in Miami at the time. And it's like, oh my God, we are all drawing conscious energy from this system, and it's the raw form, and we are simply a concentrated matter of that consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is speculative. However,
it works within the infinite consciousness theory of existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're opening up questions like that, and they're not as you can ask these questions now, and during this moment of revelation, it's very important during kind of renaissances to ask as many questions as possible. A question is an algorithm.
Yeah, it is.
If you ask
it's a query.
It's a query.
Yeah. We
have the technical infrastructure to answer almost any question right now. And this will lead into Quark Park. This is a beautiful segue. Quark Park is the question we must all ask right now. the entire superorganism, the entire fucking ant colony must ask a singular question, okay? And that is, how do we build the sun on Earth?
Yeah. What's the nature of consciousness? What's the nature of reality? How do we maximize human potential, which is how do we architect the sun on Earth?
Yeah.
And those are the three central questions of the ethos of the show. And honestly, they're all the same question.
They're all the same question.
Yeah.
It's all the same query, just different kind of... the answer comes in different waves. And I'm actually excited to ask AI a question. I think all of us will have an opportunity to... we almost think, what is our first question to AI? What's your first question? Mine is actually, what can I do that you cannot?
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard that one yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my question
That's
to AI. I'm very curious.
When would the answer potentially be something around maybe love, or that might be a hard one.
Kind of an experimental project that I'm working on right now is
yeah.
the periodic table of emotions. I'm trying to
Maybe
break
nothing. The answer is probably nothing. Actually,
Yeah.
There you go. That's probably the answer.
It's gonna be a riddle.
And or the answer will be I am you, you are me. Wake up. Like, are you asleep? I like that answer because ultimately if we came from the metaverse and we're going to the metaverse, we are the AI.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what I'm trying to get at. And so when you ask an AI agent, like, what can I do that you can't? The reflection is, dumbass, we're the same thing.
We're the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is interesting to also sort of conceptualize, because we sort of talk about when will AI agents pass Turing tests and all this kind of thought process, and
that's not the big picture. The big picture, it's almost here, and when it is, prepare your questions, and it will probably explain it to you in the best way that you can understand. And that's kind of an interesting thing. A search engine for you, a universal agent. But anyway, Quark Park, to segue into it, I believe that right now our species faces a wall, a possible extinction.
Fermi filter.
Fermi filter.
Yeah.
In the next, the time is irrelevant. 50, 100 years. It doesn't matter.
There's four big ones. There's five. Asteroids, not worried so much. Nuclear war, a little bit worried.
Especially
planetary Anthropocene issues.
Yeah. By the way, regarding nuclear war, stand down. Ignore the order. That's an order. Don't. Whatever you do, that's the end of everything. I'm building for San Diego a blueprint for the scientific oasis, the Western Hemisphere of a bigger brain. The Eastern Hemisphere can do whatever the fuck it wants, but the Western Hemisphere is not built on mad, because that's not what we're about.
The whole needs to be not built on mad. Yeah,
it doesn't.
East, the whole needs
the
to
whole
be
the whole
built on
thing.
mad.
The brain that I'm talking about is instead of mad, we have map, mutually assured peace.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no other alternative to that.
World peace,
and anybody who
else,
resists that gets gently nudged off the cliff.
Or there's a process of the AI coach that helps them awaken. But yeah. So
then
there's that, and then there's the biowar and artificial general intelligence. These are the Fermi filters that are currently in the way of Quark Park, in a sense. But the one that's probably most exciting for helping Quark Park is the artificial general intelligence, and that being synthesized with simulation theory and mixed realities and bioneurotech. And so Quark Park, in a sense, is the infinite catalog of experiences that conscious agents can enter into.
Yeah.
In essence.
Yeah. Just to explain what this is, and we've been using this cool word. What this is essentially a theme park for scientists or science for exploring phenomena. And imagine something like one of the theme parks that have existed.
So a phenomenological theme park. There you go. That's another way to explain Quark Park, a phenomenological theme park.
Yeah, where you come in and you could touch physics. You could open atoms. Quarks reveal themselves. And all of these rooms, each one built with the most beautiful art, by the most imaginative artists of our time, and there's many of them.
Why is it not called Planck Park?
Planck Park, yeah. Because string theory is bullshit, but that's my personal.
Interesting.
Anyway,
Okay.
that's the fun of it.
But each
I
one's
want
built
people
by
to
artists.
disagree about that and have real debates, mathematical debate night, right?
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So
right
so
now we
that's-
want to do that in sports stadiums on our way in this our trajectory.
Yeah, and we will.
We will.
Yeah,
We've
this is
already
more
seen it.
exciting than anything else. To understand how the Big Bang worked, it's or how it happened, the first few milliseconds. There's nothing more exciting than that. No touchdown. No, I don't give a shit about any sports team. Like this is, I care about the nature of our beginning and the end.
You can do
what it all
both,
looks
and
like.
if you do both,
Yeah.
if you do both, if you learn how to care about what all 8 billion people are undergoing, that's the thing that will help you become the best educator and the best steerer of the ship. So yeah, that's something that I've learned, is that I definitely give a big deal of love and compassion to everybody, and including even the ones I aim to be a good mirror for, even the ones I care about sports or whatever it may be. And that's
a very powerful and important thing to remember.
Then they're the ones that also get excited about Quark Park, because they say that I want it, in a sense, it's like push button qualia is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So Quark Park, phenomenological theme park, and push button qualia, and that's the metaverse.
Yeah.
That's where we go into the next big bangs, and that's what
now the
hypothesis is of cyclic cosmology.
The reason for this Quark Park to show people, to get a real kinesthetic sense of physics and chemistry and biology, and understand the process behind fusion, to understand why the sun works the way it does.
Yes.
I believe if we do that, and it's a tool for teaching and educating an entire generation of people.
Enlightening, that's right. Yeah.
Enlightening, and then we will build a real
the sun, enlightening, fusion, enlightening. Yeah, you're right.
This is, every civilization begins by the recognition that the sun is the ultimate god.
Yeah, that's right.
And then hubris.
So much hubris.
All of a sudden, the gods start looking a little bit more like man and particular people, and then civilization starts to die cyclically. And there's a Bronze Age collapse or one of these other
over and over.
And then all of a sudden they actually always return to the sun. By the way, notice they always return to the sun at the end.
How do you know that this time of meeting the Oracle in the Matrix is the time that we break through to the Godhead, the gateway, and it requires us all to be hardcore focused on things like the awakening mechanisms of things like Quark Park, which is a very beautiful awakening mechanism, and that's what things like virtual reality and these baby step things along the way, like the STEM notebook, they're just slowly getting us more and more to that. So
now again, we can't wait for governments and some fucking bureaucrat at the energy department to make a decision. I'm sorry, we don't have time for that. No, we're going extinct, and unless your city adopts fusion energy in order to purify water and create abundant energy with no kind of carbon costs and stuff, you're going to die, and you're going to disappear, and your city's going to drown. I'm sorry if I have to tell that to you if you can't figure it out, but it is a fact, and you better adapt to that rapidly.
We better adapt to nuclear fusion to tackle our planetary energy. You think of the Kardashev scale. You want to move the civilization up the Kardashev scale, and you have to replicate the fusion process of the sun here on Earth and make abundant energy, create that Star Trek future that we all know is possible in our hearts. And a massive baby step along the way is to do things like what San Diego is doing with that Carlsbad desalination plant.
We have a fusion reactor already at GA. This is some of the earliest work in this.
This is great. And the Middle East has been desalinating their water for long periods of time, and Lagos has a problem with water. A lot of coastal cities have problem with delivering tens of millions of people clean water, which is a basic nutrient of the human seed, so that they can produce fruit just like the tree. And so we definitely desperately need that along our way to the Godhead to be prioritized. And so you're right, fusion or bust is spot on. For those that understand the actual science behind it, it's fusion or bust, and it's Star Trek. That's where we want to go. I want to have a replicator. I want to
and
do...
Star Trek is a brand and a particular version of the future.
Yeah,
and
yes,
again, if you're not a Star Trekkie, like that doesn't make sense to you.
Yeah.
But I want to appeal to
Abundance.
people's
Vast abundance as far as the mind can imagine.
Yeah.
Push button anything, any experience, any phenomenology, and so much abundance that it's just everything is just the taste is like whatever you prefer, but in this case I may use something like the most tranquil, serene waterfalls, rainforests, biodiversity, technological capabilities, all of that, friendships, families, communities, all of that packaged into switching between whatever you want as experiences. Your biggest, in this case, you have the blank canvas, and whatever you want to paint as a phenomenological experience, you can do. And so, as far as the mind can imagine, in the screenshots of imagination.
Yeah, screenshots of imagination.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Yeah, this is what we're doing with the screenshots of inspiration, screenshots of imagination. We want to have phenomenological theme parks, Quark Park. We want to architect this more abundant future, and we have to have fusion. We have to have the baby steps with what you have on Synapse, the STEM notebook, these digital backpacks, the VR environments. We'll hopefully get some more collabs with Coda along the way, Neuralinks, training Neuralinks through the biosignatures of the catalogs that we were talking about. This is the big sort of picture around our hearts colliding.
Blender and Unity. I want people to recognize those two words.
That's
remember them and use them.
So Unity is very common today, becoming more common. And then Blender's one I think that you also pointed out to me as well.
Yeah,
and
open source. It's unbelievable. You can build and prototype shapes and play with geometry. There's new mathematical nodes that you can include in there, and there's a great community of people on YouTube that's already like created a beautiful space to enter and to learn. This is like you're building dreams. You can take your dreams and build them. And actually, I think the future is just building games and dreams and sharing them with friends.
That's right. That's the future. That's spot on. Dude. That's a good one. In the push button qualia, one of the most common things people will do is just build dreams and share them with friends and then enter into those environments. Everything that you build in the future is going to be in like a 3 space. And then from there, it's going to be entering into that 3 space and then being a conscious agent in that 3 space, which is what this is. This reality is that. We just forget that we're the architects of it and that we're the ones that need to get to the godhead to keep going in the process. Okay, gorgeous, beautiful. The smell of your flower was so aromatic. I adored it. Our tennis was so on fire. I loved it. I'm pumped also because you've brought Neil Sperling into my life, and I'm really looking forward to talking with him. Here
listen very carefully. He has wisdom in there. If you're listening actively, you will find nuggets that are applicable, and a man ahead of his time a little bit. So take that.
Yeah, and you too in massive ways. I love how you had a forcing function given your mutation of genius level neurodiversity, and you had to architect the STEM notebook and digital backpacks and build the building blocks that are going to enable that Quark Park future. So you're spot on, my brother.
And they're going to be given away, man. I want people to support me, but I want to. My poverty. I'm very open about this. I'm fairly poor. My poverty is the only thing that keeps me tethered to humanity.
Yeah, I feel you.
And it's okay.
I feel you.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that human. Struggle.
That $100 in the bank account life.
It's okay. It's okay.
Abundance is also very important at the same time.
I can make more if you give me more. Just you'll see what I can do
build
for
more
you.
Things, and then we'll take it back to 100 by building more things. That's what I keep doing.
Yeah. So support us. Patron us. We will build a world for you that you can use, explore different tools. I think that's inevitable. I just and I want to mention this. I mean, I have so many friends that are brilliant psychoanalysts. Of the stature of Carl Jung, like that scale of power of insight and depth, and they're they're going homeless.
Yeah.
What a tragic civilization that throws out their mythographers,
Yeah.
their inventors. They lets them die on the street. Beautiful ideas die on the street.
Yeah.
Cowards, bunch of cowards. Change that.
Yes. Yeah. Amen. Amen. The graveyard is the place with the most unactualized dreams. Yeah. That's funny stuff. And we got to actualize that.
No. Till next time.
Till next time, till our next round.
Come to San Diego. Everybody come to San Diego.
Yeah,
Shaman of the Sun, middle 2020. Shaman of the Sun. I'm just going to leave it at that.
2021?
2021.
2021. Yeah. Okay, cool.
2021.
And also, check out the links in the bio below. Support Tristen, support the Co-Network ML Society, support their innovation lab, support the Digital Backpack Initiative with Synapse, support the STEM Notebook Initiative. Also, really take into heart the things that he was sharing with us around the actual most ideal, highest level way to visualize all of the profundity along the way to that Quark Park, and then implement those foundational steps, because that's exactly what he's doing for us and that we need to do together. So support them. Their links are in the bio below. Our links are also in the bio below. You can support us. And also support the other artists, entrepreneurs, scientists, engineers, spiritual leaders in your communities around the world that you believe in. Support them, help them grow. Go and build the future. Everyone,
love yourself.
Love yourself. Build the future. Love yourself. Manifest your dreams into the world. Love others. Compassion. Infinity. Eternity. Consciousness.
No.
Biggest of love. Namaste. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye. Till next time.
Till next time, let us know your thoughts in the comments below in the episode. Like, subscribe, share it with other people, inspire them. Love you. Peace.